co-written before, it may seem like a very strange thing to do. If you're thinking about it and you're kind of nervous and a little unsure of it, join the crowd. Everybody feels that way when they start out, but once you start, it can be really fun. So I encourage you to give it a try. The first suggestion I want to make is before you start, settle all the business stuff. For example, how are you going to split the song? In Nashville, the standard practice is everybody who writes on a song gets an equal share. There's even a funny expression, give a word, get a third. That's how we do it here. It keeps it simple. It's not done that way everywhere. Some people say, well, the music is half the song and the lyrics are half the song, so if I write all the music and we write the lyrics together, then I get 3/4 of the song. There's no right or wrong way. The law doesn't weigh in on this. You can do it however you want. I just encourage you to decide on the front end. I've seen some co-writing relationships ruined because people went into them with different assumptions. Some other things you want to talk about is if I get my part signed to a publisher, do you give me part of your publishing? Or how much are we going to spend on the demo? If you're writing with an artist, is this a song that you're saving for that artist, or is it okay for you to pitch it to other people? Just try to get all that straightened out on the front end. Now, once you start, there are different ways to do it. Sometimes a melody writer gives a melody to a lyric writer and they write the lyrics. Sometimes you start with something, you give it to your co-writer, they work on it, they pass it back to you, you work on it, and you just pass it back and forth till you both like what you've got. Typically in Nashville, what we do is we just all get together and work on it, whether it's 1, 2, 4 people. You just sit down and work on the song together. That can be a lot of fun because you get a lot of interplay, a lot of back and forth, and what somebody says can inspire you and what you say can inspire them. And if you don't live in an industry center and your co-writers don't live in the same town you do, check out Skype because it's the next best thing to actually sitting in the room with somebody. Now you can start anywhere you want. You can bring your co-writer a song that you finished but you think it needs tweaking and they can rewrite it for you. You can bring them a chorus and you can start writing verses. You can start with just a title. You can start with an idea of something you'd like to write about. You can even just start with a little musical riff or a chord progression. It doesn't matter where you start. It just matters that you do. So figure out what's comfortable to you and just jump in and try it. Now, if you're going to sit there in a room with somebody and write back and forth, a really important thing is to not shoot down your co-writer. If you're co-writing with somebody, you have to deal with egos. You have to deal with your co-writer's ego and you have to deal with your own ego. So open your mind. Don't co-write with somebody if you're not willing to open your mind to what they suggest. Respect them enough to seriously consider what they're proposing, especially if you've mostly written by yourself. Sometimes it's hard to give up your treasured little lines or, oh, I think it should be like this, and then you just want to fight to the death. Well, that's not a productive co-writing practice. What you want to do is just keep your mind open and don't shoot your co-writer down. Don't say things like, no, that won't work, or I don't get it, no, that's wrong. Because if you're saying stuff like that and they're responding to you like that, you're not going to want to say something. And you've got to foster the creativity of each other. You want to encourage your co-writer to say anything. They should be encouraging you to say anything because you might throw out a really bad line that has a really great word in it that inspires your co-writer to come up with just the perfect line. So deal with your own ego. If they're kind of being a little hard on you, or if they don't like your treasured little lines, just let it go. Save the line for another song if they don't like it. Or a lot of times what happens if you really did come up with the right line, maybe 10 or 15 minutes later, your co-writer says, hey, how about this? Here's a great line. And then they say back to you the exact line that you came up with. And in that case, my suggestion is just say, great line, I love that. You don't have to be right. It's not about being right. It's about writing a wonderful song. And the last thing I want to say about co-writing is it's not about compromise. Don't give in on something that you think is really wrong. Don't pick your battles. Don't get into an adversarial relationship with your co-writer if at all possible. But it's not about, well, okay, you can have this line your way, but I get this line my way. Keep going till you find that third alternative that'll probably end up being better than the one that either of you started with.